Finally, it's done. James Stewart has said the words, "I'm retired." Clearly, it was very difficult for him to get those words out. Not just over the course of the nearly 3 years since he's raced, but even in this really long video series that took 3 parts to produce for his gear company 7. That's where these quotes appeared. This is James Stewart's career retrospective and retirement video. But even in that, he said everything but "I'm retired" until the very last moments. But we all knew James was retired, right? We all knew it. We're all so knowledgeable, we knew it. He wasn't racing. And honestly, even if he did come back to race, we knew that the James Stewart that we all knew, the one that could come back and dominate races and do spectacular things, was done. Even if James wanted to race again, even if he did race again, he wasn't going to be at the capacity that we think of with James Stewart. We saw what he looks like now. He's packed on all this weight. He's old. The odometer on him is so much higher than any other racer his age because of the enormous hits that he took, crashing-wise, the injuries, and also the pressure that was on him. The idea that James Stewart was ever going to come back and do what he's supposed to do, which is win races and jump crazy stuff and blitz whoops at ridiculous speeds, that was over. So why is this even a big enough deal for me to put this podcast together if we already knew James Stewart was retired? Well, for some people, they probably don't think it's a big enough deal at this point because we've been preparing for the fact that James Stewart is gone for the last 3 years. But I feel, in fairness to this entire process, that this really does mean something. Because anytime we speculated about Stu over the last few years, you'd always get this pushback over, dude, why are you even talking about it? Why do you even care about it? It's his life to do whatever he wants with. Well, that wasn't true. You have to tell your fans, you have to tell the people around you, you have to tell the industry, potential sponsors, and yes, the media, that you're retired. You have to tell them that. And then we will all treat you like someone that's retired. The problem with James Stewart was essentially his last public, whatever you want to call it, quote, appearance, words, was an Instagram post at the beginning of the 2017 season, which ends with him saying, "I'll be back." So if you're going to put that out there, you cannot then hide behind, "Well, I'm retired, leave me alone." And James wasn't hiding behind that. He wasn't saying anything. But he had put out the specter of a return would inevitably come at some point. So you can't treat him like a retired racer until he actually says he's retired. At least I didn't. All I said all along was, he's just got to say he's retired, and then we can officially move on and treat him like someone that's retired. And now he said the word, so true to my word, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to talk about James Stewart being retired, which immediately leads to not what's happening right now with him being in retirement, to what has happened in the past. As soon as an athlete retires, you start looking back at their career, and finally the cloak is lifted. We can start talking about James Stewart and what he has done in the past instead of trying to talk about what might be coming in the present or the future. And is there any better career to look back on? James Stewart isn't the winningest racer of all time. Jeremy McGrath has the most Supercross wins. Ricky Carmichael has the most motocross wins and the most combined wins between the two disciplines. But there's more to talk about with James Stewart than anyone else. He's arguably the most spectacular racer of all time. I think the only other motorcycle racer you could say on a spectacular scale that could square up with James Stewart is Travis Pastrana, but it's apples to orange comparison, so you really can't say who's number one. But from a spectacular standpoint, it's hard to match James Stewart. And from a potential standpoint, there is no argument. We are not going to ever see a phenom like this ever come along. Ever. I don't care. I don't care what anyone does at the amateur level. If you disagree with this, you clearly weren't around when James Stewart was about to hit the scene, and then when he did hit the scene on a pro. I've also never seen someone dominate races like he did in his 125 days. And by the way, does that not give it an additional kick of legacy? The fact that James Stewart's brightest moments, you could argue, were on a 125 two-stroke, which is just the tear-jerking, heartstring-pulling machine that is powered by nostalgia now. He's got that on his side, too. James Stewart kicking the ass of 250Fs on a KX 125. He's got that. Who else is going to have it? Nobody. You've also got quads and scrubs and ridiculous lap times, and also a whole bunch of terrible stuff that pissed people off at times, either crashing or running into people or landing on people, whatever, man. There's so much to unpack with James Stewart. When you start looking back at athletes historically, it's kind of like an obituary. You end up glossing over a lot of the bad and celebrating the good, and that's inevitably what's going to happen a lot with James Stewart. Maybe not as much as it would be with other people, because there's, again, no one that has ever been as polarizing as James Stewart also. But I'm just going to say that looking back at his career in retirement, it's going to be a whole lot of positives, and we will not gloss over the negatives, but it's just the way these things inevitably go. So here we go. Let's talk James Stewart retirement right now. As always, the Racer X Exhaust podcast brought to you by Yoshimura. Hey, Yoshimura pipes. Last time we saw James Stewart as a racer, they were mounted to his Suzuki. He was racing for the factory Yoshimura Suzuki racing team. They built his engines. In fact, when I went to the Yoshimura R&D center, the factory in California, there was a ton of James Stewart stuff. There was literally a room that had a gate or a cage in front of it that had all sorts of Suzuki parts specifically for James Stewart's bike, because it ended in classic Stewart fashion in a mysterious way. He showed up at the Washougal National. It was not going well, and in 2016, and he didn't race all the races in the end. So there were a couple more races to go. He didn't race. There were some parts left over. They're literally sitting there collecting dust inside the Yoshimura building. Also, there's a couple of James Stewart RMZ 450s in the lobby of that building. But the Suzuki James Stewart, that's just part of the James Stewart story. I don't know. They don't do this thing in this sport. Inevitably, he will be in the AMA Hall of Fame. Now the clock can start ticking because he's retired officially. The racers don't have to pick what hat they want to put on like they do in baseball, where they have to decide what team they want to be affiliated with when they go into the Hall of Fame. But it's going to be weird. What James Stewart do you think about when you think about James Stewart? The final James Stewart, he raced Suzukis the last few years. Do you think about the Yamaha James Stewart, which might have been, you could maybe argue, peak James Stewart? That 2009 Supercross season was crazy. It was wild. It was probably the most dramatic between he and Chad Reed. Or do you think of Kawasaki James Stewart? Or maybe Honda James Stewart that never really even existed, just in shadowy terms. I think he tested a CR125 when he was turning pro or about to, and when he last showed up on a bike in some photos at a ride day at his house, he was on a Honda. Whatever, man. There's so much James Stewart to talk about. But I want to thank Yoshimura, as always, for bringing us this podcast. Go to yoshimura-rd.com. Also, this is, of course, brought to you by Racer X. That's the magazine. Keep the lights on. Support the mag. It's easy. We have a digital edition that is so simple to read. It's just like scrolling through social media, but it has our awesome and exclusive stories that you cannot read anywhere else. Digital.RacerX online right now. We'll give you a test ride and show you a whole bunch of our latest issue, or go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. I wrote a story on Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki in the latest issue. I turned out to be really wrong because they blew both titles, but now I'm back to being right because AC has bounced back to win Hangtown. Steve Mathis wrote a story on the rules in the sport and how there's disqualifications and penalties and how that doesn't always make sense. So check out the latest issue of the magazine. And speaking of Racer X, I found someone I can discuss Stu with. It's someone who I discuss Stu with all the time. It's my right-hand man at Racer X Online, Chase Stallo. We plan and write and edit all the stuff that's on the website. We are always tracking the news, and that includes big James Stewart news. Lately, not news on big James Stewart, big news on James Stewart Jr. with these videos coming out. So Chase Stallo and I have had thousands of conversations about all the riders in this sport, including James Stewart, but now we're actually going to have one on the record that we're recording. Let's talk Stu. Let me get a little perspective here. So, dude, first of all, here's what's the unfortunate thing. In classic Stu fashion, man, the videos come out on Friday nights, and I'm never going to get the word from Stu because they never tell you anything. I think they did it to try to hijack the news. I think they figured if they put these things out on Friday evening, it's going to be just all that anyone wants to talk about at the race the next day on Saturday, all the fans, all the industry, whatever. And that probably would have worked for a while, but I don't think it does work anymore. I think 3 years after, people have moved on enough. Dude, at Hangtown, people were not talking about the Stu video. And on Monday, they were talking about, oh my God, Ken Roczen finally won. It's kind of, I think, a misstep. I think they messed up. They shouldn't have done it this way.
No, they shouldn't have. And you're right. If it would have been 2017,
yeah,
this would have been the talk of everything. But when you don't say anything for 3 years, I think most people just kind of assume it's already been done, right?
Yeah, he's retired. Yeah.
Right. Like most of the posts on social, and take those for whatever you want, but we knew this, or we knew this 3 years ago, So, the timing was definitely weird, I would say, and not the way I probably would have done it.
No, and I see what they wanted to do. I think they were still testing like the James Stewart brand. Like, is he so popular that even having not raced in 3 years, he can still railroad things? And there's an argument to be made there. Like, we see the numbers. We know that, as we always say, man, no one gets traction like Stu, right?
It was the most popular post last week.
Yeah, it still was. But it didn't dominate the day at Hangtown. And they put one, and I'm not just a homer here for Pro Motocross, because they had another one that came out right before Vegas Supercross, and it wasn't the talk. Like, Adam Cincerillo blowing the title with 3 minutes to go. That was the talk. Or, wow, Cooper Webb really did this. He really won this title from nowhere. It was not James Stewart talk. So
and it sucks, to be honest. Like, Stu deserves to be talked about. He was one of the greatest ever.
Yes.
And he deserves his kind of, walk away, or kind of like Reed's doing, right? Like, we all know Reed's eventually going to hang it up, right? This year, next year, somewhere.
Right.
But he's still out there, and this is kind of his, like, swan song, right?
Yeah.
Stu never had that.
Nope.
And we've waited for 3 years, and then it's like, you're releasing these at Friday at 5:00.
Yeah.
Like, that's in the industry, that's known as a news dump, right? Like, you release news that you don't want to be known at that time. Not probably the greatest. I mean, those interviews were fantastic too. Like,
it's really good.
They were great.
Yep.
Yeah, and I bet most people didn't even take the time to watch it.
I was shocked, actually, at the races, how many people told me they heard it was out, part 2, part 3. I think the first one, everyone was so fever pitched because we hadn't heard him in ages. The first one, I think everybody watched. And then when the first one didn't give you, you're like, wait, was that it? Is there more? Is he retired? I'm confused. I think that, I want to say bum people out, but I think it took a little of the, like, oh, dude, I still didn't get what I wanted. And I think it took a little of the sauce away from the second two, which were actually better. And the amount of people at Hangtown that said, I heard part 3's out, but I haven't watched it yet.
Because it's Friday before a race. Like, most people don't have time to spend 15, and it's 5:00.
Yep.
It's unfortunate because Stu was the greatest. I mean, he was awesome, and to kind of have it end like that was just, I don't know, it's just weird.
Yeah, and when we say greatest, look, we know he's not greatest as far as winning the most races or anything like that.
No.
But as far as who releasing an unfiltered raw video would probably have the most impact ever, there's no doubt it's him. So
it's Stu.
Yeah, but they somehow, I mean, it's still getting, I'm sure, a lot of attention and traction, but they somehow managed to not get the most that they could have, even after 3 years of waiting.
For 5 years, we would just post on Christmas.
That's right.
Stu versus Reed, tell us your story.
That's right.
Like, and it would, you could just see the page views going up and up, and like Stu is, look, either you love Stu or you hate him, but it's the Tiger effect, right? Mm-hmm. You're watching,
Yeah,
you're paying attention because it's, look at the golf ratings when Tiger plays. They're 3-4 times bigger.
Yeah.
And, hopefully Stu can kind of, now that he's said it, can kind of get back into going to the races and, kind of having that into his career that he just didn't have. He just disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple things here. First of all, I know that everyone says they knew he was retired, and we all knew. Well, it was either way. Either he was definitely officially retired, or even if he was going to come back, we knew he was going to be terrible. Like, it wasn't the old James Stewart winning races wasn't going to happen. So we
didn't know that in 2017.
No, you're right, actually.
We still had probably hope in 18, where it was like, I mean, you heard rumors, we all did, that Stu was putting his own team together.
Yeah.
I know from a very reliable person that worked on putting that team together, like, that was very close to happening.
It further blurred the lines of, well, we can't talk about Stu in like a retired sense because we really It was really, it's easy to say now we knew the whole time, but you're right. It was kind of blurry. It was kind of
we probably knew this year.
Yeah.
Going into this year, I was like, yeah, Stu's done. He's not coming back.
But here's the problem. I feel like before, if media types like us were to bring up Stu, he wasn't retired, but he wasn't racing. So it was like, why are you bringing this dude up? Are you just doing it for hits, or are you just doing it for attention? It was like...
That's just... that stuff drives me crazy. It'd be like saying, don't talk about Tom Brady. Don't talk about Joe Montana. Like,
I think those concerns are valid because, see, Joe Montana is retired and Tom Brady is the best quarterback on the team that won the Super Bowl this year. But James Stewart was neither of those things. It was like, we can't talk about...
But if Tom Brady just one day walked away from the Patriots and never said anything, believe me,
you're right.
They would be talking about that all the time.
Yeah. Well, they would literally...
Where's Tom Brady? What happened to Tom Brady?
Well, actually, we literally saw it. Like, ESPN literally they were camping out on Brett Favre's lawn to try to figure out what he was going to do. They literally did that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we've seen it.
All right, good point.
Wall-to-wall coverage.
We did have a reason to talk about this.
That's wall-to-wall coverage.
We did have a reason to talk about this.
Yes. And look, Stu was, it was Stu. He literally, it's stewable. I mean, that's a word, so it's unlike anyone else. I mean, maybe McGrath or Carmichael, but other than that, I don't know. And I wasn't, maybe RJ back in the day, but I think that the coverage back then was just different. I mean, Cycle News, there wasn't as much media coverage and, wall to wall social. Right. And so, I mean,
you couldn't get to that level.
McGrath. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you were around more than I was at that point, but.
Well, I think it was hard to get to that level. Like you said, even the media even wasn't quite what it was, even in McGrath's days. There wasn't YouTube, which I think helps a lot, and then eventually social media. And then, look, those guys, they pretty much did, like McGrath pretty much did everything right the whole time. There was never any controversy. He just won, and he was awesome. Stu threw in that endless discussion of, is he doing the right thing, the wrong time, or the wrong thing? Has he fulfilled his potential, or did he not? Like, no one will ever argue and think like, well, McGrath left something on the table. Like, there's no drama. There's nothing to discuss there. He won every race he could have ever won.
Right.
He couldn't have won more. But with Stu, he's both unbelievably good, but then you can also have this conversation of, oh, he should have been better. He should have won more. He should have eclipsed.
Yes. He only has 2 Supercross titles.
Absolutely. And
insane. He should have had 6 or 7.
Yes. He won 3 big bike titles. Like, there's the idea that Ryan Villopoto, Ryan Dungey have way more titles than him seems impossible.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So he both gets the credit and the blame like no one else. So I think that's why it just draws so much more attention.
Yeah, and I would say McGrath was probably more, I think it was mostly positive towards him, where Stu, there's people that just didn't like Stu for whatever reason.
Exactly. So that's the problem. Like, Jeremy was just great, but it didn't incite controversy. Stewart has both greatness and controversy, so nothing's going to get attention like that.
No, it's not. And man, God, was he great to watch.
Well, here's the cool thing. So what I'm saying is, now that he has officially retired, I feel like now we can officially start talking about, oh, he was great. He was awesome. It was fun to watch. Where I don't feel like we could fully commit to that.
No, because we didn't know.
No, you didn't know.
Well, we knew, but you never want to. I say it's like almost like reporting a death. You never want to be the first to report a death. Yeah. Right. You want to let it, so you don't want to report someone's retirement when they haven't said it.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. They need to do that on their own, or however it needs to be done. But you're right.
Look back at a rider when they're not retired. Like, what are we going to do, right? It would be weird if we just said, hey, let's look back at those 5 motos that Tomac had in 2015 when he won Hangtown by 9. It'd be like, what's the Tomac's still racing now. Let's talk about 2019. Yeah, exactly. You have to be retired, I think, to look back at your highlights like in full.
Yes, or to appreciate someone's career. I agree. I mean, you have to. I think it has to be officially announced. What else are you going to say? Well, we think he's retired, but not really. We're not really sure.
Right. So to me, this is significant. I know a lot of people are going to say, whatever, we already knew this. But to me, it means something. And here's the other advantage he's going to have. You mentioned like you don't want to report anyone's death before it happens. Just like an obituary, when someone retires, Stu certainly has warts, and we can talk about missteps or whatever. But inevitably, it gets talked about in much more positive
sure.
than it would have been while it's happening.
Well, and they say that about like great musicians that die young, right? That they don't have a chance to, I guess, go through what like, the Aerosmith or Rolling Stones, right? Where the guy's like 70 and you're like, what the fuck is he still doing out there? So like, Kurt Cobain, who was 24, 23, whatever, like he's just remembered for that brief awesomeness of 2 years, right?
Yes. Frozen in time genius.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's right. With Kurt Cobain, you'll never be like, we'll never know, but you can't say, dude, the guy hasn't churned out a relevant song or hit in the last 25 years. Maybe he wasn't going to. Maybe he wouldn't have.
Like, look at Pearl Jam right now. Does anyone still listen to Pearl Jam?
New Pearl Jam, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. New Pearl Jam, right? And they were just as big,
Yep.
So, grunge would have died and Nirvana would have died with it.
So now we get to just look at Stu for what he did. And I know that we're going to get to the point where, we're 20 years since McGrath has even won a Supercross title practically. These things change quickly. We're going to get to the point where people are going to eventually say, well, Stu was just one of... No, man, there was no phenom ever. There was no phenom this level. No way. No. He was
LeBron James coming out of high school.
Yeah. Like other kids will come out. Hey, Adam Cianciarulo won a lot of titles, and I'm sure Jim Reynolds
he wasn't Stu.
Ryder D. No, they're not Stu. They're not even close to the hype. And I shouldn't use the word hype. Just reality of how good Stu was at that age.
I don't know if we'll see it again.
No, I don't think we will. I
really don't.
No.
Not with the kids nowadays. They're all at facilities and all that. Like Stu was just riding in his backyard in Florida, man.
Yeah.
And then you would see him, and you're just like, I remember watching him on an 80, and I was like, who is this kid?
Right.
My brother was like, that's James Stewart. He's going to be. I mean, the kid was just winning by like 40 seconds.
Yes. Yeah. There's nothing quite like that. And then, dude, he turns pro and he's on a 125. I've just never seen anyone dominate races like that. Like, it was almost dangerous. I've never seen this. It was almost dangerous to have him on the track with the other pros international because he was like running into the back of people. And I've also never seen this. There were times when he would pass people. And again, these are pros. These aren't the local races. This is like Brock Sellards, Budds Creek National. They would get passed, and you would actually see them start making mistakes like they were freaked out. They could not believe what they had seen.
Yeah. I mean, greatest 125 rider probably ever. I think. Yeah. In my book.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. He actually does have the most national wins, but it's beyond that. It's a level of
what
the domination.
He did. Yeah, and how he did it, like the scrub, and it's just beautiful to watch, man.
Stewable.
Yeah, like I remember, what was it, Toronto a couple years ago, and I think you were there with me, and we were watching it, and it was like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like,
yes.
Oh my God, how is he doing this stuff? And you were just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's against Justin Barcia and Ryan Villapoto and, some of the greatest riders in the world.
Yep.
So yeah, it was, I don't think we'll see another Stu amateur sensation.
No. And that's what built it. And then again, I know he's not the all-time winningest rider ever, but he carried it. He wasn't just, high school star that turned out to be decent as a pro. Like, there's a good 15 years worth of, dude, the guy was spectacular pro memories also to just further drive the point.
Yeah, he's one of two people to get 50 Supercross wins.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. But, it's funny, man. This is the battle I've always had with Stu. I'm like, man, is it unfortunate for the guy that he set these impossible standards were set where it's like, if he doesn't eclipse McGrath and Carmichael, he's failed. But then I've heard people say, yeah, but he himself put those standards on himself. So
and that's probably what drove him, though, too.
That's what he says in these videos. It did. Yeah. So it's hard to separate. Like, do you almost feel bad? Like, second all time means that he didn't reach the heights, or you're like, no, but that's what he said. He said he would be best at everything.
And that would be one question I would wonder for him.
Yeah.
Like, does he deem his career a success?
Yeah, I know. It'd be so easy for him to say, I won a crap ton of races. Of course it is. But he knows that he had put that standard out there. It gives you respect. I always say it gives you respect for how gnarly the sport is to know, like, he had all the tools to do it. Yep. And he couldn't do it, which just shows, like, that's how tough this sport is, dude. Like, you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
You're going to get hurt, and crap's going to happen.
Especially the way he rode.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, God, talk about some vicious crashes.
Oh.
Like, when you don't see that stuff from Dungey.
No.
You know, and it's probably why he has more titles. But Dungey will not be remembered the same as Stewart. Even though he'll have more, titles and more accolades, but he just won't be remembered the same.
Yeah, it's a fascinating argument to have. Like, I mean, really, it seems crazy to think that, again, you could put Villopoto or Dungey's career ahead of Stewart. That seems impossible. Like, how could they be better than him?
Sure.
But you can't solve this equation. You can't solve, but they are better than him as far as how many titles they won, and that should be the ultimate measure of all. And let's be honest, a lot of those titles were won with Stewart on the line. Like, it wasn't even two different eras. They beat him. But at the same time, I don't know, 10 or 20 years from now, to argue that Dungey was better than Stu, I think some people will be like, oh, come on.
Well, and as the years pass, it'll just get more distorted, right?
Of how amazing Stu was.
Yeah, Stu will have 15 titles and most wins ever. And
the quads that he jumped will become quints.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was jumping 7 jumps through fire. I mean, not in the media, but in, bench racing circles. I mean, you're at the track or whatever. I mean, they're going to talk about Stu.
Yes. So
I don't think they're going to talk about Dungey.
No, not in the same way. So there's another polarizing Stewart thing. You're going to have people try to argue that he was better than guys who maybe had a better career record
on paper. Yeah.
On paper, and then there's going to be Stu drama number 900.
Oh yeah,
over like
because you're going to have the Stu fans going, "No way, man!"
Yeah, and then you're going to have the
You've
Stu
seen
haters.
What he does.
Yeah, and the Stu haters are going to be like, "Scoreboard, bro. He was on the line every year Villopoto was, and Villopoto won 4 straight Supercross titles, which is a fair argument. I don't know how you solve it, but it's like all things Stu. It's always a good argument.
Yeah, and I think that's why he will probably be remembered more than any other one. More than Carmichael or McGrath, or because there really wasn't anything to argue about with Carmichael. He won. Good. Yeah, he won 101 races. Like what else are you gonna say? Yeah, he was awesome. There's no debating, right? Like, people, people like to debate things, right? So, it's Carmichael's awesome, great. End of story.
Stu, the arguments will go on forever. Hey, even the Reed, we all know that Stu Reed rivalry. It's the greatest rivalry ever.
Best ever.
But whenever they've done these behind-the-scenes things and gotten the two guys to talk about it or whatnot,
right?
One of the ways Stewart, I feel like, would get frustrated and then almost accidentally throw shade is, I think it bothers him because I think in his mind he's like, Reed was never as good as me. This cannot be a rivalry. It's not a rivalry when I dominate the other guy. But again, depending on which way you want to look at the argument, you could say that they were equal or they were rivals. Sure. Depending on how you want to look at it.
Oh, yeah, and I would agree. And that's probably why he did that thing to Unadilla and let Reed by and then pass him again. Because he was like, this guy's not on my level.
Yeah. But unfortunately.
But he was, man. Like, those races were great, dude. Reed would challenge Stu any day of the week. He wasn't, I don't think he was faster, but he was a good racer, man.
Well, that's what leads to the battle, right? Where people are going to be like, well, yeah, Stu was faster, but Reed was more consistent, and it's just 50-50. There's 2 different ways to skin a cat. Either one is equally effective. I mean, in Stu's mind, he's probably going to say, no, I was a better rider than him, and that's all that matters. So that's another thing that we can just argue forever. How do you solve that?
Go back and look at those comment sections. I mean, they were pure gold. Mm-hmm. People arguing about Reed and Stu. And
it's
just another layer of the Stu case, right?
Yes, just like the most polarizing thing ever. Yeah, I don't know. And it's weird because people look back. This is what is going to help Stu in the future. Like Damon Bradshaw used to crash all the time, And then he'd win sometimes too. But that was his thing. And he says it now. He's like, I was never going to finish second or third. The goal was to win. Mm-hmm. At the time, you're going to get bashed for that. And people are going to be like, you're a moron. Why are you not just taking points and taking titles? And even Tomac now, to a degree, right? When Tomac doesn't win, we're all like, WTF, Tomac. Yeah. Why are you messing this up? But when you look back historically, now Damon's a badass because of that.
Oh, yeah.
All he wanted to do was win. All he wanted to do is kick everybody's ass. Like, you can't. How much tougher and cooler can you get?
That's what I mean. In 10 years, the Stu story you won't even recognize it, because it'll just be, oh my God, this guy, and all he cared about was winning and blah, blah. I think a lot of the Stu hate will probably go away. People will forget that he took 3 years to retire.
You're right. Which is just one of many examples of like, what are you doing, dude? Why are you doing it this way? Like a career full of those of questionable decisions.
I don't know if we'll ever get the real answer. Like I don't know. I don't know if he'll say why.
Well, I think as far as the retirement thing, I feel like I think that one's pretty clear. I think in these videos, and again, I'm not sure if everyone listening to this even watched them because they got buried.
Go watch them if you did.
You did really good.
Go watch them.
I think you can tell that his whole identity was so wrapped up in, I'm James Stewart, I'm the fastest man on the planet.
Yeah. That James Stewart the racer, that I don't think he could put it to bed that quickly. And by the way, you kind of nailed it. I don't think Chad Reed's any better at that either. He's just doing it in a different way. He just cannot freaking stop racing. Stewart, they both basically couldn't look in the mirror and say, I'm done. They're just doing it in a different way. And if you watch that video, like, he's like sweating. Yeah. You can tell. And this is 3 years later how hard it is. It's insane. I'm sure it is hard, walking away from the only thing you've ever done and the only thing you've ever been known for,
Well, that really nails it. The only thing you've ever been known for, because, everybody's got a little bit of an ego, but let's be honest, James, I'm sure, is smart enough to know that every dollar, every friend, every accolade, everything was because he was amazing on a dirt bike.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Like now suddenly he's vulnerable. Now suddenly he's just got to be judged as being a regular guy.
Right.
Your whole life, you pretty much had the world in the palm of your hands because you were really good at this sport. Didn't Dwayne Wade actually just say that he was going to be doing like therapy because he's retired from the NBA?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did say, and I'm like, no, no one's, as far as I know, has ever had to do that before. But it was like the first person to recognize, like, me going from superstar ass-kissed athlete to just dude walking the streets ain't going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, you even see it with people way lesser known than James in this sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask JT how hard that was, and how hard that transition is.
Yeah.
Because when you're a racer, you get a lot of things handed to you, Not
and
saying you don't have to work for it or whatever, but you have a lot of people kissing your ass.
Yep.
And I think with anyone, you just get used to that, right? It becomes part of your reality. People are going to kiss my ass.
Yeah, you're just not going to be.
Then it's over, anymore. And you're like, wait, why is no one kissing my ass anymore? Why are these people so mean?
Yeah, and it's weird. Like, I've seen McGrath has done a good job kind of rebuilding himself now that he's with Cowie and he does the Science of Supercross and things like that, which you wouldn't think is a huge deal. But I can tell you that when I see McGrath at Supercross races now, he is getting recognized more now than he was 7 years ago or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. And it was getting scary and sad. And I've seen all the greats. I've seen Rick Johnson walk through the concourse of Anaheim Stadium and not be recognized. And I'm like, that's funny. At one point, they sold 60,000 seats at the same
because
building
of RJ
to see this guy. But I think it goes two ways. It's not. It would appear if you're RJ walking the concourse not being recognized, it would appear that everybody forgot you. I think a big part of it is if you told all those fans, "Hey, that's Rick Johnson," they'd be like, "Oh,
sure,
I don't recognize his face. I've only heard about him, or he looks 30 years older." I think that's part of it. But part of it,
especially in a sport where you wear a helmet 90% of the time.
You're right. Most
people don't even know what half these people look like. you know?
Right. Even when they heard of Rick Johnson, they didn't, let alone in their mind, they're seeing 25-year-old Rick Johnson, not 50-year-old.
It's just the same thing with football. I mean, there could be a highly respected running back standing next to me, and I probably wouldn't know who the hell it was.
Yes.
He wears a helmet all the time.
That's right. But if they told you that's him, you wouldn't be like, oh, I don't know who that is. You would.
Right. You definitely would.
So I think that hurt McGrath. So he's back in front of the camera a little bit, and I think that's helped. But either way, it's going to come to some degree. You're just not just not going to be recognized, and you're not going to be important or a celebrity like you were. And I don't think all the riders care about that thing, but for sure, Reed and Stu are guys that lived it enough where they know it's going to be difficult not being that guy anymore. And they're both dealing with it in their own way.
Some people never wanted, like RV, he never really wanted the spotlight. He just wanted to race dirt bikes.
That's right. That's right. Dunge, same thing.
Dunge, kind of the same thing. Yeah. I think Anderson's the same way. I don't think he likes it.
Yep.
I think he'd rather just go and ride dirt bikes and not have to talk to anyone.
Yes.
Tomac probably the same way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think someone like Ken, I think he enjoys that stuff,
Yes. I think the one thing, though, that is interesting for all these guys, like RV has bounced back in ways we never expected. I do think that for the guys that don't want to be stars, there's definitely the grass is greener thing.
Sure.
And once they see what real life not being a celebrity is all about,
it's not as much fun.
It's not as much fun as they think. Like, RV, you moved to the woods, and now your job is to basically change diapers on twins and mow the lawn.
Yeah, he's like, what?
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Yeah, it's like,
sucks.
Yeah. But wait, when I go to the races, everybody tells me how awesome I am, and I just drink beer all day, and I don't have any real responsibilities because I've already been there, done it. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And you can tell, like, I think he's more around than he ever was as a racer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think people really knew him when he was a racer.
Right.
I don't think people really liked him that much, to be honest.
No.
But now he's retired and like really showing his real personality. It's like, oh my God, who is this guy?
Yeah. Dude, imagine if you could have both. Imagine if you could have had both.
He would have been probably more popular than Stu.
I think so. I think that seems almost impossible, but I agree. If this personality was the guy winning the Supercross title.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you
kind of saw it a little bit with like his jabs about, selling the Ford truck or whatever it was. And things like that. It'd come out occasionally, but no, he was definitely not who he is today.
Well, that leads to a great point here. I don't think the pressure of trying to win, I don't think he could handle that. And then like the additional pressure that might come from talking trash, like for sure that personality, I saw it behind the scenes. He already had that personality, but I think he was like, man, managing winning these races is hard enough. I can't also keep this other kettle boiling of I got to talk this trash and then I got to back it up. And then half the people are going to hate it and I got to deal with that negativity. Let me just focus on the track. And okay, Stu, what you finally see with the vulnerability of these videos is you thought Stu wanted to win so bad and liked being a celebrity so much that he was cool with all that. And now you see finally he's admitted having to win every race in my entire life sucked.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure, man.
Yes.
And it's a lot of hard work.
I didn't think it was like, I don't think people thought it was for Stu because you thought he was so good. You thought him winning, there's no pressure. He knows he's going to win every race he's in. What is he worried about? Yeah. Apparently not.
And I'm sure Tomac thinks the same thing, where he's like, fuck, this sucks sometimes.
Yes.
If I don't win, it's like, what happened? Like, and I think you wrote it in your piece where it was like, no other sports like that. Like LeBron James isn't asked to win every NBA game.
Yes, that's right. You can have off nights here and there.
Yeah, you can have off nights.
Yep. They all do.
With these guys, I mean, look at Tomac's first moto. What did he get, fourth? Everyone was like, what the fuck?
Oh,
what the fuck's wrong with Tomac?
Totally. Yeah.
Here we go again.
Yep.
It's like he got fourth in the first race of the year.
Yeah, he might win the title. He might still be the best motocross rider in the United States right now. Right. This very day, he might be. But he got fourth in a moto, and we're like, dude, Tomac again. What's wrong with you?
Hurling's same way. If Hurlings gets beat, it's like, what the hell is going on with Hurlings?
Yes. So, Hurling's a great example. So last year, he wins every race he's in, essentially. Yep. And you think he's so talented, he's so good, he's so confident that that's just inevitable. But I'm sure in a couple years, whenever he's done, he's going to be like, dude, winning every race in 2018 killed me. It was so
I'm
hard.
sure.
It was so much pressure.
And that season is so long, you know?
Yep.
It's what, March to September?
Yeah.
So you got to, I mean, you're wearing that for what, 8 months? You know?
Yeah. Can't be beat.
No.
Ever. Because like you said, because in this sport, you actually can not be beat if you're really good. It's possible to win every race.
Yeah, we've seen it.
We have. Yeah. So it's tough. And also, okay, I hear all the time, like, why does no one talk about Marvin Musquin's 29 years old? Like, he's old.
Yeah.
Why does they never talk about Marv being old, like RV retired and Dunge retired before that? Marv is actually older than Dungy, which seems crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but it's different. The Stu odometer of having to wear that pressure every day of his life since probably age, I don't know, 12, 8, I don't know. You have to win every race you're in. Marv never had to deal with that. And most other older guys out there, like Wyndham or Larocco, they raced a long time too. Shorty, yeah. They raced a long time too, but dealing with the pressure of having to win every race you're in, that kills you to a whole other degree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's why you see the top go out early, you know?
Yeah. Do you think Hurlings is going to be racing 10 more years?
No.
Yeah.
Well, plus he gets hurt a lot too, so he's probably already over it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe those things go together. Like, if you're as fast as Stu or you're as fast as Hurlings, you ain't going to beat Dungy.
Doing it. Caroli's doing it.
But don't you feel like Caroli is a little more of the Dungy type of approach?
Yeah, it's just weird though when you have 9 titles and about to pass Everett's for everything.
Yeah,
that you don't. I mean, that pressure has to be there too, right?
Yeah, but he's certainly not beat up as much.
No,
I mean he's definitely had injuries, but Caroli has been able to take thirds and fourths on weekends.
Yes,
instead of kill himself.
Yes,
Hurlings has been one way and one way only.
Yes,
I must go one way.
He's kind of reminds me of Stu a little bit, where it's like, we're going to look back and be like, man, this guy could have smashed every record if he would have just toned it down about 5%.
Yeah, you know? Yeah, I know.
But that's not who he is. He's going to go for it, you know, and even in practice, apparently, because that seems to be where he gets hurt the most.
That's right. Yeah, he broke his femur riding an 85 at a charity event. A couple of years ago.
Got hurt in practice this time. Got hurt in practice last year.
Yep.
His collarbone. So.
Yep. Having to be spectacular every day. Okay. Yeah. Last thing I want to talk about, Stu. So when we did our live show before, Hangtown. We didn't really plan it, but we did. So Stu says that going to his compound, he hates it now. It smells of work. It reminds him of that pressure. And our buddy Chris Kiefer was like, dude, that bums me out. I thought that Stu was in this because he loved riding dirt bikes. And to hear that he's so sour on it, it does make it sound like he was only doing it for the wins or the money or like he was never doing it for the enjoyment of it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't think once the goal is to win every weekend, I think that just has to go out the window.
Yeah, RB was probably the same way. But he did say, he was like, I like riding dirt bikes. He was like, I don't like being James Stewart.
Yep. It just needed he just needed to separate.
Separate those two, right? Yeah.
So I hope it comes. I hope people don't.
We just want one whip video, one scrub video. That's all we want.
I know. It's so easy these days. It's so easy. Yeah.
Just have Malcolm out there filming it. There you go. Put it on Instagram. It's 1.5 million views later.
If you have the two of them whipping together. Yeah. So maybe. Okay, dude, we've heard of all these broken dreams, like Red Bull preparing all these bikes for him to ride like 2 years ago. Like a lot of money being spent. And Stu no showing on huge projects is just the stories are endless.
Yeah, typical Stu.
Typical Stu. So I don't know. Maybe this weight's lifted. I don't know if it's going to happen next week, but maybe 6 months from now, maybe 2 years from now. Like maybe
just get him to a 125 race. That's all we need.
That's it.
That's all we need.
So maybe. Okay, we all thought he was being dumb. We all thought there's money to be made. You can still be popular without the pressure. Do it. Maybe he just needed that time.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he likes the spotlight that much, though.
Yeah,
I think he likes to get up and go play golf, and that's all he wants to do. You know.
I agree. And that's also, yet another polarizing part of Stu. This is so weird. I've had to explain this to people, even myself. It is strange, and this is not just Stu. This is real people. There are some people that are not comfortable. They're actually shy, like in a one-on-one weirdo small talk conversation, but they can perform on stage in front of thousands and not. Everybody's nervous to a degree, but they can do that for a living. And I don't think a lot of people realize that that's possible. Like, we saw James Stewart when he was interviewed on the podium be as polished and solid a speaker as you could get. Especially, you're seeing him do it at 16 years old. Look at these.
I mean, that video.
The
video
Fox
was
one.
Great. No, like, I mean, even the three-part.
Oh, this one now. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, he was well-spoken. I mean, it said, I thought his thoughts came out really good. Like, I agree. It was great.
So it's, I think, hard for people to believe that you can speak that well on camera or on a podium in front of fans and then actually like suck at small talk or be shy.
Right.
But I can tell you those two things are not related. Those are two completely different.
Not.
Yeah. I mean,
it's the same thing the other way around, right? Like, I could talk to you one-on-one a lot, but good Lord, I couldn't get in front of a TV camera. I would freeze up.
Exactly. The two things are not related. They're not. No. And I know this. I did theater stuff when I was in high school, and I mean, dude, drama geeks are drama geeks. They're socially awkward.
Very.
They're like literally known for that, right?
Yeah.
But they're not shy about.
No, but they get on stage and perform and do all that stuff.
So I think that messed with Stu also because a lot of the times he said no to projects was probably just because he literally didn't want to. Like, he felt uncomfortable.
Probably just got uncomfortable and was like, "No, I'm good."
Right, but I don't think people could believe that because it was like, I just saw you on the podium in front of San Diego and there's 70,000 people. Clearly, you're not shy. How could you say you're shy?
It's also that we build up our stars too, right? To be these like godlike figures, right? So it's like, what do you mean you can't get in front? You're uncomfortable talking to someone. You're James Stewart. You shouldn't be uncomfortable talking to anyone.
You're right. You're right.
So it's like, yeah, but he's just a normal dude, man.
Yeah, that's true. You want them to be. You want to believe that they're brilliant in like every aspect of life. Like they're not just good at. Be it acting or singing or in this case riding a dirt bike. Michael Jordan always got heat because he never publicly dove into any topic outside of basketball.
Nope.
In his prime, they were always mad. They're like, why doesn't he take a stand? He has such a huge platform. Why doesn't he take a stand on political issues? I think his argument was, you're only going to piss off half the people.
Well, that was his argument. He was like, they all buy Nikes.
Yes.
I think he's literally quoted as saying something like that.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, what do you think about this? And he was like, they buy Nikes.
Yeah. Don't piss anybody off. Right.
Yeah. I'm not messing with my money.
But there's also a chance that you assumed, because Michael Jordan or fill in any celebrity, you assume that they must be brilliant people on any topic. He just happened to be good at basketball or focus on basketball, but you could talk to him about world politics and you'd be like, oh man, that's really interesting. But there's also a chance that that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've never understood, why we like put so much stock and value in what athletes or celebrities have to say. Like,
yes,
they're just good at one thing, Like, they're good at acting. That doesn't make them a rocket scientist. Like,
exactly.
Like, we need to be listening to what like doctors have to say, and people that not what the guy who acts down the street has to say. I don't really care what he has to say.
Right. But you're correct. We build up our heroes so much. It would be weird. Okay, like if you had a chance to buy some VIP ticket to a party and got to hang out with James Stewart, and he was telling stories about like behind the scenes stuff and his racing days, you would just be hanging by a thread. It'd be the most fascinating convo ever.
Oh God, you talk about making the money. That's all he needs to do. Come hang out. I'll bench race with you.
Tell some stories. Oh my gosh. But it's right. If the conversation turned to, hey, are you buddies with Tiger Woods? What do you think about golf? And he started talking about Tiger. Really, what you should do is be like, he doesn't know any more about golf maybe than I do. I shouldn't even listen to this. But people would still be riveted.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear what James thought about Tiger.
Right.
He's never played golf with Tiger. Yeah, we can't. I even know I'm doing it, and I still
Yes. We can't help it, right? So we get more disappointed when we don't get everything we want out of these guys, even though we might be asking for things that they're not capable of doing.
Yeah, we ask way too much of these guys, to be honest. Like, they can't have a misstep. I mean, they misspeak on the podium. It's a 12-pager on Vital, and it's like, you wonder why these guys don't say anything, man. I wouldn't either. I would just, everything was great, good. That's it.
I am worried even for James right now. Like, so I wrote this piece that we're posting today on the site, and, it's quotes from his thing. Him saying, I hated everything about racing. He means the pressure sucked.
Sure.
But for sure, that is going to be misinterpreted by people to be like, oh, he didn't even like dirt bikes? He doesn't even like the sport? He was just, is he just taking money? Or fame or whatever? Like, even that's going to ruin him. And it was as, genuine, understandable, human, from the heart as you can get. And he's going to get ripped.
I don't see how you could watch those videos and come away with anything other than impressed, right? Or that he was really genuine in everything he said.
Oh, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, it certainly will, and that sucks. And you probably understand why he doesn't want to do anything else.
Yes.
That's part of the reason these guys don't say anything is because, and especially now that everyone has direct access to them as on Instagram or social media or whatever, right? That's that. I don't know. It comes with the territory, I guess. And when you're making millions of dollars, people don't typically feel sorry for you, right?
Oh,
so,
and that's okay. But what does suck is that that part I get, like,
sure.
You're not going to have sympathy because you're making money. But what does suck is that when you then say nothing, then you get complaints that you're too vanilla.
Yes.
And I'm like, the same people that are complaining you're vanilla are the same people causing you to have to be vanilla.
Yeah. I mean, especially when Webb was, rattling off stuff in his 250 days. Can you imagine him doing that now?
Oh, dude, for some reason.
We both know that 250 class just does not get the same level of exposure.
No.
It's not as popular, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So can you imagine him saying some of that stuff right now? Oh, my God. People would be going crazy.
Yeah. And look, Webb barely showed any of that this year. And for some reason, man, by the end of the season, the tide was starting to turn against him.
Yeah, people are already hating him. It's not a tremendous amount. It's not the majority of the crowd, but I heard negativity toward the end of the year. Sure.
He got lucky. For whatever reason, he was getting booed in New Jersey anytime we said his name.
Yeah, I saw that. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't know. So you're right. The scrutiny that you get in that class. Here's an interesting example of how this works. Remember when Justin Cooper took out Chase Sexton at Nashville? Yeah. And then, like 3 days later, Cooper, I don't think cares about social media at all. He's right. Not only does he not care, but it's not really even a part of his deal right now. He's just worried about racing. Yeah. He had to go on there on like Wednesday and like,
I remember that.
He had to like defend himself. And I'm like, dude, the reality just hit the guy for the first time. He's been able to ride in the 250 class for a year and a half. Yep. Can do whatever he wants. No one comments. Go unnoticed. The only thing he's probably hearing is like, you're the man and you're awesome and go for it.
Good job.
And then you get slapped for the first time ever with people going after you. And, oh, my God, it's just
it's a mob mentality, dude.
Yep.
It is, dude. And it spirals quick.
Yeah.
And some people can handle it. Like Ken goes in there and battles with the dudes. And
it's true. It's
fucking awesome.
It's true.
He tells people to eat balls and... it's great, but some people can't, they can't handle it.
No. And you definitely can't the very first time if you're Justin Cooper, you're just cruising along. You don't even know this exists.
You're 19 years old too, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and all of a
these
sudden
guys aren't 26, 27. He's 19.
Right.
Like that's a lot for a kid to have to come to terms with, right? Or it's like, oh shit, what is this?
Yep. So
people can hate me for this?
Yep. Yeah. So you pile up a couple of those experiences, and then eventually your move when it gets controversial is to just, dude, I better just not say anything.
What happened with Sexton, too?
He did, because then Sexton got bashed for complaining.
When I thought he was just being honest. Like,
me too.
What did he say wrong? Like,
that was why Daniel Blair and I had to go at it when I did the pod 2 weeks ago. I'm like, wait, you're complaining the dudes are vanilla, but then you're complaining that Sexton complained.
Yeah,
and he's like, but that sounded whiny. And I'm like,
who cares? Like,
well, unfortunately, Blair's right, because they did think it was whiny. I don't know why, but they did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and Roxon gets it too. Anytime he talks about his health, it's like, oh God, here we go again with Ken's health. And it's like, he's just being open.
Yep.
Like, you ask for people to be open, and when they're open and you don't like it, you have to complain.
Well, it's so funny. So today we had our meeting for TV, and a lot of our discussion was that now that Ken finally won, it wasn't this unbelievable celebration like everyone thought it would be.
No. Wasn't. I was kind of surprised.
I was surprised too, but so I'm trying to figure out why. And I think part of it is he tried to hit this head on, right? He tried to be transparent the whole time. I don't think he expected it to be a 2.5-year process to finally win.
No.
You know, he's probably like, I'll have to hit this head on for 6 months, then I'll win Anaheim 1 2018, and then we'll move on.
It'll be over.
Yeah. It's still not over. And second, I think for the first time, it's starting to spin where, dude, I'm tired of you making excuses, and the transparency has started to flip to, you're just making excuses.
That was before, I'm even referencing before he got hurt, his big injury. When, he would win a race and be like, hey, I haven't been feeling good this week, and people will be like,
right. Yeah.
Oh, here we go, Ken, with the excuses again.
His air forks.
Yeah.
His air forks are pumping up.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So
right.
It's a double-edged sword, I guess.
It is.
I'm glad I'm not a part of it.
I know. So I think Ken now is like, I'm tired of having to talk about negative, scary stuff every weekend. I'm moving on. And I think some fans don't want to hear it either, so there's even more reason to move on. And then eventually the win finally comes, and he's kind of moved past wanting to celebrate this comeback and talk about it.
Right.
And that's what we end up getting. We end up getting him winning and it just being like, okay, I won. Let's move on.
Well, yeah, he even said on Steve's show, he was like, I just didn't want to come on because it was just going to be talking about me being sick. And, and he was like, I didn't want to talk to the media because I knew I would have to, I don't think he can help himself, but to be honest, so it just kind of comes out.
That's right.
So he just avoid it, better than having to talk about it.
It is. No, that's a great solution. And one other thing also, we complain that the riders aren't forthcoming with injuries. One of the reasons for a purely functional standpoint is, and I've heard the guys say this, they're like, dude, if my ankle hurts, the more I talk about my ankle hurting, the more it's going to bother me. Like,
right.
I'm better off pretending all day long. It's fine. I'm trying to convince myself, by the way, and be confident when I go to the line. So the more I say it's great, the better I'm going to do.
Do we all do that, right? You have a pain and it's like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And then it's like, you finally go to the doctor and you're like, oh, no, you're good. Well, magically the pain goes away,
Yes. Right. So telling everyone all the time that everything's I mean, there are obviously all sorts of categories here. Tomac not riding for the whole month of December. Yes. And then almost being mad that he was asked about it is different. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah. But Ken feeling sick and trying to convince himself probably, no, I'm good today, I can win. And then having to tell 38 people that he actually feels horrible, that's probably, those two things are not going to work together.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not going to go away. Because the minute he does bad, well, Ken must not be feeling good, or something, right? Like, it's just going to be the whole year.
That's right.
Unless he just goes off and wins 3 or 4 in a row, right? And then it's like, well, maybe he is fine. But
he's kind of
the sense I get that I don't think he knows. I think some days he's just not going to feel good.
Right, and then he's got a decision to make. Do I keep saying this?
Yeah.
Or do I not keep saying this? Yeah, I don't know. Do I be vanilla? Like you said, I don't think
he can't help himself.
He can't help himself. He's Euro honest.
Yes, as we like to say, Euro honest.
I don't know why. The European guys are willing to be way more honest.
Dude, in every motorsport.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Go look at, after MotoGP races. Half the guys are like, oh, that bike fucking sucked.
It's unbelievable.
Bike was terrible.
It's unbelievable.
And you're like, what? What?
Yes.
You guys can say this?
I know. And it's just like, that's the way it works. And here, oh, man. Yeah, I always say, if people could understand what Dylan Ferrandis was saying, no one can understand him. The accent's way too thick. But if they could understand him, dude, he's giving really good in-depth answers, positives, negatives all the time. Yeah. He's giving you what you want. People can't understand. But
yeah, you don't know it.
He's being super honest all the time.
Yeah, he's the same mold. I mean, these Euro guys just can't help but tell you what's on their mind, and I don't think they care either way. Like if you like it, all right. If you don't like it, whatever.
Yep. Unfortunately, one time though, Marvin decided to. He took Tomac out. He owned it. He just said the truth. He's like, it's a 450 win. Yeah. And then he veered.
Yeah, don't veer.
Don't veer.
Don't veer.
Yep.
Don't veer.
I mean, for sure, I think his reaction was still not everybody's going to even like that, but that was still his best path. It was not going to, he wasn't going to get 100% approval either way, but that would have been the best one. And I think he tried that. He could tell that some people weren't pumped, so then he tried a different course, which is even worse. I don't think Marvin's recovered.
No.
From fans' perspective. Nope.
No. He is still probably hated.
I think so. No one cared. No one had a negative. Like maybe if Marvin wasn't your fave, but no one
negative. No negative.
He was fine. That. Wow, I don't know. You say it's worth taking somebody out to win a 450 Supercross. It's tough. It's a tough call right now. It's like 50-50.
Yeah, really. Right. Especially when he wasn't winning the title anyways, right? That was already wrapped up.
That's right. It's kind of come back to bite him in a way. Like, yes, the bonus check cashed.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But was it worth it?
I don't know. Like, and again, maybe if he handled it better, he could have looked back on it. But
I think also, too, pulling over for Dungey didn't help. So you add those two together, and it's like...
That's right.
This guy, I don't like this guy.
Yeah. And as I always say, and by the way, this counts for Stu also. You can be different in Marvin's case, it's being foreign. Yeah. We know the difference between Stu and most of the fans and most of the other riders. I'm not even going to say it, but we know what it is. Yeah. I always say this. As long as you're doing everything perfect, no one cares.
Yes.
But the
Quite a standard, though.
Yes, dude, but the moment you go off the tracks, they remember. Yeah. People weren't like, I don't like Marvin because he's French. Until then. It was like, yeah.
With Stu, I think it was the TV show.
Yeah.
I think it was the TV show.
Oh, good one. Well,
because people were super pissed he wasn't racing motocross.
Yep.
And then to go into a TV show, they were like, what the F?
Yes. And yep, you step off the tracks, and then you remind, in Marvin's case, you're foreign. Yep. And I think we all know the difference between Stu and all the other riders.
Yep.
So it's like you don't get like any padding. If you mess up, you're instantly in the ditch.
Yes, you don't get the benefit of the doubt.
That's right. You don't get the benefit of the doubt. Like, people like Stu when Stu was perfect, but as soon as Stu made a bad decision they didn't like, it was twice as bad as it would have been for a white guy from America. How about that?
You said it.
Yeah, there we go. I had to get it out. All right, this was awesome. Stu.
Yes.
Glad see, you're good at this, bro.
Yeah, we just need one video. That's all we need. One video, Stu. Come on.
That's it. All right, maybe we'll get more. Maybe we'll actually get Stu around or at the races or even on freaking Instagram riding. Just something.
That's all we want. Make it happen.
Yep, and he'll get paid. So it's not just for us. He will make money.
There you go, yeah. He'll make a ton of money.
Oh, dude, if he shows
Ask RV how much money he's making.
Oh, my gosh. Absolutely. He's seriously probably making more than, maybe 5 racers right now?
Probably, yeah.
If you're Stu, I'm not even getting into he blew all his money. I'm just saying, I don't care who you are.
Sure.
He could have millions in the bank, as RV does. It don't matter. You can make another couple $100,000 for hardly any work. Do it.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I love money. I do it.
I mean, I don't know why, but Shaq endorses, he's on every freaking commercial. He does not need the money.
He's still on Icy Hot. He still does Icy Hot.
Those commercials are horrible. He does not need the money, but no one turns money down. Don't turn down the money, James Stewart. Take it.
Shaq at one point said he had still not touched his Orlando Magic contract money.
What?
Because he was making so much money in endorsements that he didn't even need to touch it.
From his first NBA paycheck.
First NBA paychecks.
It's like 30 years ago.
Well, think about Zion. He's about to get $100 million from Nike.
Oh, so his contract means
or someone,
nothing.
Yeah. His contract, throw it in the trash. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. But again, someday when Zion's rookie deal is up, he'll be going for the max contract.
Oh yeah.
No one turns down money.
$100 million.
All right, no one turns down money. Rolling Stones keep going on tour. They're not turning down money. James Stewart, don't turn down money. Go to Bercy, do some whips. Go to Australia, do some whips.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Yep.
Ask RV.
Yeah, exactly. We've got the roadmap.
Probably drinking beer half the time.
We've got the roadmap. Do it for yourself, and we'll enjoy it too.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, dude.
All right. I'll see ya.
All right. Back to work.
All right.
There you go. Our conversation about Stewart. There could be many more hours. We'll do it again. We'll do it for the next 259 weeks. We'll do it. There's that much to talk about, that much to unpack. James Stewart has officially retired. He dumped it right in the middle of a championship finale and then a series opener. So it really got overshadowed. There, he got his hour. We'll be back, probably covering racing next week on the Racer X Exhaust podcast, brought to you by Yoshimura. The official pipes that James Stewart was using on his Suzuki in his latter years. And don't look back at like the final year of Stu, like when he came back from being suspended. Let's think of when Stu came back in 2012 and jumped on that Suzuki for the first time and went 1-1 at Hangtown. Or even let's think about, just to make the Stewart story that much more vexing, when he went 1-1 at High Point in 2014, beating Ken Roxon and Ryan Dungey straight up. And those were the guys battling for the title that year. And then a few days later, the announcement came that he had been popped for the anti-doping test, and his career was never the same. So you could say right there he was about to make a case for a championship, and then it all came undone. Is that just not the perfect weirdo, hard to understand, and multiple perspectives James Stewart story we expect? Yep. But he did have Yosh on the bike that day when he went 1-1. So go to Yoshimura-RD.com to get awesome exhaust systems for a whole variety of machines. And also Racer X, of course, bringing you this. That's our magazine. Go to racerxonline.com/subscribe. Content that you cannot get anywhere else. We don't post it on the web. We don't put it on social media. It's only in the magazine. The stories can go deeper because we have more time and better perspective. So racerxonline.com/subscribe or digital.racerxonline. Check out the latest issue. I got to go. I'm getting ready. We're back. Fox Raceway at Pala. Haven't raced here since 2011. I'm getting ready. Hopefully you are too. Maybe I'll see you at the races. Thanks for listening. Have a good rest of your life. James Stewart.